Sophie Cunningham was flat out targeted by a dirty, dirty player. Can continue to survive these things. Here you see Sophie Cunningham laid out on the floor, holding her knee. The lady was in tears, crying as Lexi Hall approached her to help her.
Immediately, first, look at this. Instantly into the game. Instantly. Immediately. They had a target to hurt Sophie. She was targeted by this team.
Sophie Cunningham's knee injury has shaken the WNBA to its core, and it's hard to ignore the way it unfolded. Bria Hartley came in like a freight train, crashing right into Sophie, and now her family is furious, and fans are in an uproar. Hartley's reputation for playing dirty is no secret, and it seems like the WNBA has turned a blind eye to it. This feels like deja vu for fans who remember when Caitlin Clark went down with a devastating injury. Now, Sophie's facing the same nightmare, and the crowd can't help but feel like they're watching a tragic replay of what just happened to Clark. The replay tells the whole story. You can see Hartley coming with full force, and that moment marks the beginning of an unsettling chapter in the WNBA.
There, and Hartley just kind of falls
and
and
she
crushes
in
immediately
on the knee of Sophie right here.
She went down.
Just sums up everything. Like, we weren't going to win this game if Sophie Cunningham was healthy. This isn't like, oh, we lost because of a Sophie Cunningham injury. We were down 17 points when she got injured. This happened.
The Indiana Fever are living through a season that could easily be described as a horror movie. You think you're watching a game, but what's really happening is so much worse. It's hard to just sit there with popcorn. You almost feel like you need therapy after watching these games. There's no other way to put it. People are already calling this the season from hell, and that's honestly an understatement. Week after week, the Fever somehow find new, creative ways to embarrass themselves. It's almost like they're trying to see who can have the most chaotic, cringe-worthy performance. And what's even worse is that the WNBA, the supposed authority in all of this, is just sitting there, scrolling through social media like nothing is happening while the entire league burns down in front of them.
And it looked like Stephanie White is extremely emotional after this hard-fought game. Sophie Cunningham family is a...
And now, we've truly hit rock bottom. Sophie Cunningham's knee injury wasn't just a simple misstep or a bad fall. It was an absolute train wreck. This didn't look like a basketball game. It looked like something straight out of a demolition derby. There was no finesse here, no skill involved. It was just pure, unbridled force. It wasn't some small ankle tweak or bruise. Sophie was on the ground, clutching her knee in agony, her face twisted in pain. Unable to get up, Bria Hartley didn't just make contact. She obliterated Sophie's knee, like she was trying to tackle a quarterback. That moment was a turning point. It wasn't just a player going down. It was a moment of complete devastation, and it hit everyone watching like a ton of bricks.
I'm hella mad. Hartley need to be suspended on a major level completely. Probably at this point.
The scene was so disturbing that Sophie's family couldn't just sit back and watch. They took to social media and went off, calling out the league for letting this chaos unfold without any real accountability. Fans flooded Twitter, Instagram, and every platform they could find, dragging the WNBA for their lack of action. People were asking the tough questions. How is it even possible that star players are getting injured week after week in professional league, and the officials act like they're calling a YMCA pickup game? Sophie's sister, Lindsay, didn't hold back. She went straight for the league, telling them that instead of worrying about comments from players, they should focus on actually protecting athletes on the court. It was a call for change, but who's really listening?
Wanted to hurt Sophie. They made it their business to hurt Sophie, and that's exactly what they did, was hurt Sophie, and I'm hella mad.
Let's take a closer look at Sophie's injury, because this was the moment that ignited everything. It wasn't just a freak accident. It was a play that looked like it belonged on a blooper reel, but it was far from funny. Hartley came barreling in, making direct contact with Sophie's knee, and Sophie immediately grabbed at her patella, the kneecap. That's a moment you just can't ignore. It was a kind of injury that makes your stomach drop, a moment that every fan watching felt in their gut. You can see it, you feel it. It's raw, it's painful, and it marks a turning point in this tragic saga.
Sister Lindsay and her mom Paula at WNBA, maybe you should focus less on fining players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game, protect your athletes.
And that's when the entire stadium, along with fans watching from home, felt that awful sinking feeling. It didn't scream ACL tear, but it sure didn't feel good either. The sensation in the air was thick. That injury had all the signs of a serious patellar rupture or fracture. Anyone who's ever watched sports knows that kind of injury isn't something you recover from in a week. Analysts are already predicting there's almost no chance Sophie returns this season. 0 chance. And just imagine the gravity of that. The Fever's best mid-season pickup, their energy, their drive, taken out in mere seconds. The team spirit was shattered in an instant, and fans felt it too.
Sophie's mother, Paula Hartley, is a disgruntled player having trouble everywhere she goes. She's playing.
But here's the kicker. This wasn't even Sophie's first time being sidelined with an injury this season. Oh no, she's had 2 major injuries, both against the Connecticut Sun. And the timing? It's almost too much to ignore. It's not just bad luck anymore. It's starting to feel like a curse. 2 major injuries, both against the same team? You don't have to be a superstitious person to start wondering if something else is going on here. It's almost like the basketball gods have marked the Fever, saying, "You're cursed." And that makes perfect sense when you realize just how vital Sophie was to this team. She wasn't just a player. She was a game changer.
Injury. Normally, people will hold higher in their knee if it's a knee ligament injury. It looks like she might have either broke.
Sophie wasn't just another player on the roster, though. She was a defense. She brought intensity. She was the one hyping up Caitlin Clark when no one else on the team would stand up for her. She was the heart and soul of the Fever when things looked grim. And now she's gone. That energy, that fire, it's all gone. But here's the real kicker. If you thought Sophie's injury was just an accident, let's take a closer look at Bria Hartley, the WNBA's very own villain of the year. If the league had trading cards, Hartley's card would come with a warning label. Handle with caution.
She did not deserve any of that happened to her today, and it is very...
Hartley's reputation is so bad that fans saw this coming. This wasn't some random incident. This is the kind of thing Hartley's been doing all year long. It's a full-blown highlight reel of chaos. Earlier this season, she yanked Angel Reese by the ponytail, like it was an episode of WWE SmackDown. And just days before Sophie went down, Hartley yanked Becca Allen by the head and slammed her to the floor. Multiple ejections, countless cheap shots. It's like Hartley is trying to rack up a resume for the Dirtiest Player Alive award.
Sophie Cunningham out for the year. How can this team continue to survive? We bring in Ari McDonald because of injuries. And who would have thought? Caitlin Clark would be out most of the year. Sophie Cunningham will have a season.
But it's not just critics throwing shade anymore. There are real, serious accusations being made. Hartley isn't just playing the game. She's actively targeting players. She's going out of her way to injure others, to ruin careers. And after what we just saw happen to Sophie, are we really supposed to ignore that? How many more injuries like this do we need before we start calling it what it is? It's no longer a coincidence. Sports commentators have already labeled her the dirtiest player in the league, and fans are absolutely convinced Sophie was targeted. Her family? They've made it crystal clear that Hartley plays out of control, and they're right.
You guys, this girl was a dirty player, and that's all she did today was show how dirty she is. This is unfortunate. I don't know.
Now, let's pause and ask the obvious question. Where is the WNBA in all of this? Where is the accountability? Where are the suspensions? Where are the actions to protect the players? When your league is losing stars left and right, the one thing you need to do is protect the ones still standing. Instead, fans are calling for a civil rights investigation into the officiating culture. That's how absurd things have gotten. A civil rights investigation in a basketball league? It's almost beyond belief. But fans are disgusted. They see a league where dangerous plays are shrugged off, where dirty players run wild, and where officials couldn't control a high school game if their lives depended on it.
He is a dirty, dirty, player. She pulled Angel Reese out of air by her ponytail. Angel Reese is ready to fight. Just last.
And that's what makes Sophie's injury so much more than just another player going down. It's not just about her. It's about the bigger picture. The WNBA has created an environment where injuries like this are bound to happen. A league where players with rap sheets like Hartley's can keep playing week after week without any real consequences. It's a league where Sophie Cunningham, the one player willing to scrap for her teammates, end up cry on the court while the refs stand idly by. All of this unfolds while the Fever are already trailing by 17 points, proving once again that this team just can't get it together.
I don't know if it's her knee. I don't know if it's her Achilles, the way she was kind of dragging her foot. I don't know. But Bria Hartley has had dirty plays all season. But you got to know who we're talking about.
And let's talk about these referees. Honestly, they're an embarrassment. Sure, the box score might show some solid numbers, but when you're getting blown out by a terrible team, those numbers don't mean a thing. Natasha Howard might have scored 18 points and grabbed 9 rebounds, but it didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Lexi Hall hit a big 3, but let's not forget how invisible she was the rest of the game. At the end of the day, the box score might look decent, but it's not about the stats. It's about the performance. And the performance was lackluster at best.
Reality, because she is somebody's daughter. She is somebody's sister. And this is just unfortunate. And those of you who don't think a civil rights investigation need to be brought upon this league is tripping.
Overtime sums up everything perfectly. Yes, the Fever technically won. But do you feel like they really won? They barely scraped by one of the weakest teams in the league, and they lost Sophie in the process. That's not a win. That's a disaster wrapped in a shiny package. And honestly, it feels like something much bigger was lost out there on that court. A win that came at such a high cost is not a victory at all.
Do you think the refs called any fouls? No, they didn't. These refs are clowns.
And lurking over all of this is Caitlin Clark, the so-called savior of the WNBA, who's only played 12 games all season. She's missed over 75% of the year, and fans are starting to wonder if the WNBA's biggest star is worth the hype. Is she really going to risk coming back for this disaster of a season, or should she just stay on the sidelines and let the league implode? Stephanie White keeps talking about how Caitlin might return before the season ends, but at this point, who even believes that? The real question isn't whether Caitlin can return, it's whether she should.
Hall hit a big 3 that was the dagger at the end. Aaliyah Boston, 7 of 13, 14 points, 13 boards, a double-double there, added 5.
Fans are losing faith, and playoff hopes are fading fast. The trust in this league is on life support. The WNBA is hanging by a thread, and it's only a matter of time before it all unravels. Sophie's gone, Caitlin's barely played, and the Fever are falling apart. The only question left is whether Caitlin Clark will risk everything to try and save the sinking ship, or she'll just let the wreckage continue. The WNBA is staring down the barrel of disaster, and it can't run from the chaos any longer. What do you think? Can Caitlin save this wreck, or is it just game over?
To the floor while dribbling the ball up the floor 75 feet away from